Okay, so I decided to get equations from past papers starting from 2015 all the way to 2023, actually 2024. I skipped some years like 2020, I think 2018, because I was unable to find this one. But what I'm trying to communicate here is we always have an equation like this in paper 1. So it's better to understand what to do now before you are asked to solve such a problem. So let's get started. Since we are all familiar with algebra, this should be easy. So for the first one, this is actually the easiest. You have x minus 5 is equal to negative 1. So to solve this, you simply collect the like terms. This is always the first stage. Collect the like terms. So in this case, we have this and this as the two like terms in this equation. So you have to put them on one side of the equal sign and then put the x terms on the other side. But since we only have one x term, we can just leave it as it is. So I'll leave the x here, but then what normally happens here is to take this one to the other side, we add an additive inverse like this. You add a 5 to both sides, which will eliminate this. So then we have an easier trick of doing this. Instead of adding a 5 to both sides, we normally just take this 5 to the other side so that it becomes a positive number. So you can ignore this. I've realized that a lot of you are getting confused once we use this. Okay, so we can say x, you write the equal sign, and then you write the negative 1. Then after you write the negative 1, you can take the 5 to the other side. Please, you don't need to draw this arrow. So once the 5 goes to the other side, this sign will change. It's a negative here. The moment it goes to the other side, it will be a positive. So you have to remember that this only happens when a number crosses an equal sign. It doesn't apply to a situation where you are just rearranging terms like we were rearranging in the last two assignments. So in this case, once the number goes to the other side of the equal sign, the sign will change to positive, so that we have x is equal to, remember we have different signs here, so different signs you subtract. So 5 minus 1 is 4, and then get the sign from the bigger number. The bigger number here is 5, so this is our answer. So x is equal to 4, and you are done. It's this easy. So let's try the second one. The procedure is exactly the same, except that at one point we have to divide through by 2. So to solve this one here, this is 2024 external paper. So we have 2x plus 4 is equal to 2. So to solve this one, the first stage is always to collect the like terms. Collect like terms. So in this case, we have a 4 and a 2. This is always the case even with algebraic expressions, which explains why I decided to start with algebraic expressions and then equations. So I'll take the 4 to the other side. So I'll leave this 2x on my left hand side, and then I'll take the 4 to the other side. So I have equal sign a 2, and then when the 4 goes to the other side, remember that it's positive here and it has crossed an equal sign, it will become a negative 4. See? And then from here, you can subtract. As you can see, we have different signs here, so we can apply this rule. Different signs, subtract. So we can just say 4 minus 2, the answer is 2. But remember to get the sign from the bigger number. This is very important. You always get the sign from the bigger number. Yes. So now we have the bigger number here is 4. 4 is bigger than 2. So that means this will be a negative 2. And then you are solving for x. Sorry. You are solving for x, not for 2x. So now you want to make sure that x is the only variable standing on the left hand side. Everything else must be eliminated at this stage. So the first thing you want to do is you get the like terms together, you manipulate, and then after that you deal with the coefficient of x. So to get rid of the coefficient of x, you can divide both sides by the same number. So the coefficient of x is 2. Once I divide both sides by 2, then this one will be eliminated, as you can see. So that I'm only remaining with an x this side. Remember 2 into 2 is 1, but we don't normally write 1x, so we can just leave it as an x. And then this side, 2 into negative 2, this is a 1, but remember that negative divided by positive is negative. As long as you have different signs and you are dividing or multiplying, the answer will always be a negative. You only have a positive when you are multiplying or dividing the same signs. So since in this case we have different signs and we are dividing, it means the answer will be a negative. So that means our x here is equal to negative 1. And then if you want to verify it, you can just substitute the negative 1 in x, and then you will be able to see that the left hand side will be equal to 2, just as it is on the right hand side. So let's move on to part C. Part C has a few more numbers, maybe a few more terms, but the procedure is still the same. So we have 4x minus 8 is equal to 1 plus x. So now, in a case like this, remember what our first step is. You want to collect the like terms first. Do not forget this. This should always come first. So we have this and this as like terms, and then we also have this and this. So you can choose whether to have x terms on your left hand side or constant terms on your left hand side. Just make sure that whatever choice you make will make your work easier. So for me, I think leaving the 4x here will be much easier for me. I'll use both methods just to show you what I mean. And then I'll bring this x this side. Remember we have a term like x. These two are like terms. So once it crosses the equal sign, it's no longer positive x. This is negative x. And then this is equal to 1. This is negative 8. Once it goes to the other side, it will be positive 8. Yes, so the sign was a negative. It has become a positive because it has gone to the other side of the equal sign. So now you can easily add or subtract. As you can see, we have different signs here, so that means we have to subtract. But these are the kinds of numbers we've been dealing with since grade 1, I think. So 4 minus x, that's like saying 4 minus 1. Remember, this is 1x. We just don't write the 1. So this one will be 3x, and the bigger number is 4, so it will still be a positive because we're getting the sign from there. And then this side we have the same signs. That's like saying 1 plus 1. So for the same signs, we add, same signs, add, and these are the numbers we normally deal with. So you may not even need to use this. So this plus this is a 9. So now to find the value of x, okay, so at this stage, sorry about that, at this stage you can simply divide through by 3. Remember, you're trying to get rid of the coefficient of x so that you only remain with an x this side. Okay, so since we are trying to get rid of the coefficient of x, to get rid of this, we can divide both sides by 3. So this and this will go, and then we can say 3 into 9, this is 3. So remember, the idea here is to divide both sides by the coefficient of x, so that x is all alone on the left hand side, and then you are done with the equations. So that means your x is equal to 3. For part D, the concept is still the same. So you have 5y minus 9, which is equal to y minus 1. So to solve this, remember the first step is always to put the like terms together. So in this case, we have this and this. You want to put them together, and then you have this one here and this. You do the same. So I promised to use 2 different methods for this, but I don't know how I forgot. I hope I'll be able to remember and show you what happens when you decide to take the 5 to the other side instead. So in this case, I'll bring the y this side to join the friend, which is a 5y. Remember, they are both y's. So once the y goes to the other side, the sign will change to negative. The fact that we have no sign there means that y is a positive number. So once I take it to the other side, it becomes a negative. Then I have a negative 1 this side. Remember, this one has not been moved, so the sign will remain the same. And then I'll take the negative 9 to the other side. And then since this is a negative number, it will be positive on the other side. So now we can add or subtract depending on the sign we have. So we have the like terms here. 5y minus y. This is like saying 5y minus y, 1y. Just like 5 minus 1. So this will be a 4y. If you want, you can just apply this rule. Different signs, subtract. And remember to always get the sign from the bigger number. So we have different signs here. So you can subtract 5 minus 1, you have a 4. and then you get the sign from the bigger number. In this case, the bigger number is a 5, which is a positive. So this one will be positive 4y. Then next, we have these two numbers. We can still apply the same rule because we have different signs. So different signs, you subtract and get the sign from the bigger number. And the bigger number here is 9. So we expect the answer to be positive. So you can say 9 minus 1 is 8. And then getting the sign from the bigger number, that's a positive, which you can choose whether to write or not to write, since a positive number is understood. So now at this point, you want to separate the 4 from the y. To do that, remember you are solving for y, you just want to have a y as the only letter on the left hand side, or the only variable on the left hand side. So to do that, I'll get rid of the 4 by dividing both sides by 4. So once I do this, 4 into 4 will give me a 1, which we don't normally write. We can just have a y like this. And then this side we have 4 into 8, which is 2. And you are done. Your y is equal to 2. So now if you were to use a different path, let's say you didn't want to bring the y this side, and you decide to take it to the other side. This is what will happen. The answer will still be correct, but it will be much harder for you to solve, which is why I recommend you use this. So if you decide to keep the 9 this side and then bring the 1 this side like this, and then you take the y to the other side, remember this one has not been moved, so it will remain as it is. Then if you take the 5y to the other side, it will be a negative 5y. So this is just an alternative. The problem has been solved. Alternative, something like that. Yeah, so we have different signs here. So when you have different signs, you subtract and get the sign from the bigger number. So I can say 9 minus 1, this is 8, and the bigger number here is 9. So this would be negative 8. I'll get the sign from this. And then the same applies to this side. We have different signs, so we shall subtract 5 minus 1. Remember this is 1y, so this will be 4y. And then remember to get the sign from the bigger number, which is 5. So this will be like this. And then you divide both sides by negative 4. So in this case, you have a negative 4 as the coefficient of x. So make sure you divide both sides by negative 4. So negative 4 into negative 4 is 1. But we don't normally write a 1. So we can just leave it as a y. And then negative 4 into negative 8. Remember that negative divided by negative is positive. So it's like this and this will cancel out. And then 4 into 8, this will be a 2. So your answer will still be correct, except that you'll be dealing with a lot of negative numbers. So let's move on to the last one. The last problem is 4 is equal to 3x minus 2. So now to solve this, I think the easiest way out here is to bring this to this side instead of keeping it this side. I don't know if I got the question right, but we shall solve it as it is. Yeah, it's okay. So we have a 4 and a negative 2. So I'll bring the negative 2 this side. Once it crosses the equal sign, it becomes a positive. So now we have 4 plus 2, which is equal to 3x. And then 4 plus 2, this is a 6. Remember, we have the same signs there, and then this side we have 3x. So now you want to separate the 3 from the x. So to do that, ensuring that you remain with an x this side, you divide with anything that is not x. So that thing is a 3. Remember, you want to remain with an x, so there is no need to divide by x. So you can say 3 into 3 is 1, which we normally just say is equal to x, like this. So now 3 into 6, this is a 2. So now instead of leaving it like this, it's better to write it as x is equal to 2, and then you can end there. So now you can do your task. Just pause the video. Sorry about that. Just pause the video and take note of the questions.